First thing I'm going to do is take off the old anchor. This is a Foley anchor used to hold little tubes in place on the skin. Okay, get rid of that. You can see all this sticky gunk. I have to clean that off with my adhesive remover stuff. This stuff is crucial to dressing changes. They didn't teach me this in the hospital, but I found it out on my own. You've got to have adhesive remover. I had my LVAD put in over a year ago in December here in Spokane at Sacred Heart. So far so good. It's a hardware made by an Australian company. It clotted, the inflow of the pump clotted a little while ago, and that put me in the hospital. They just had to give me some medicine that breaks up blood clots. That was kind of a big scare, but really that's the only problem that I've ever had with this particular VAD. This is the drive line. This is just a power cord that connects to the main battery, to the controller and all that. Okay, so get all the adhesive from the old Foley anchor taken off as best as you can. Alright, then while that dries, I'm going to do my actual dressing change. So first thing I want to do is just keep your hands really clean. Kind of got a little workspace here on the table. First I'm going to remove the old bandages, just a piece of foam adhesive tape I used to keep the Coviderm on. That's what I'll be using. This is a Coviderm patch. That's what this round guy is. And again, more and more adhesive remover. As you take off the Coviderm patch, it's helpful just to wipe it first with the adhesive remover to loosen the glue. That way it tugs on your skin unless you get less irritation, because when you're doing this every day, your skin gets really raw after a while. I mean, imagine wearing a band-aid for forever. You know how weird your skin gets underneath it. Okay, so you can start to see my drive line there. Just be really careful not to touch the drive line. You don't want to get any risk of infection. It's a sensitive area that goes right to your heart. So this is kind of gross, but I always, want to check the Coviderm to make sure that you're not having any leakage. That's really nice and clean. And then you've got this little piece of gauze that goes under it. And just pull that away. Again, just be really careful not to actually touch the drive line. Or even just get your fingers close to it. You first start off in the hospital before it heals in. You have to exercise a lot of precautions with the mask, sterile gloves. You do what's called a soak with this material. I forget what it's called. But that is yeah, it's a gentamicin soak. Jen just told me that's what it's called. So that's the drive line. You can see it's just comes right in and out of my belly like that. It actually curls around, goes across here, and then up into the pump, which just sits right about here. I can actually feel it behind my ribs. That hurts. So yeah, that's an LVAD drive line. All right, let's clean this up. Let's see. Now it's time to make a sterile area. Getting my 2x2 gauze sponge ready. Those go on right underneath the drive line to sop up any seepage. Coviderm patch. The main bandage. Pre-cut. And Chloroprep, which is the basic kind of antiseptic. Comes in a little applicator. Prep. There's a small vial of liquid in here that contains the actual medicine. Then you just break it apart, breaks the glass in there, liquid falls down into the sponge tip. And that is what I'm going to use to actually clean around the driveline site. Trying to get more of it out there. I like to push down to squeeze some of the fluid out so it actually goes down into the tissue where surrounding the driveline incision site. And then you go around and you work in outward circles. You don't want to be wiping any bacteria or whatever close into the driveline. So start close, work your way out, and then just finish up. Okay. Now we sit and let that heal. Or dry, I mean. You can see these red patches where my skin gets a little raw from having all of these bandages on it all the time. A lot of times I'll shave an area around the site too, because I'm pretty furry, as you can tell. Just broke my sterile field. Okay, so next what I'm going to do is put my gauze sponge on underneath the driveline. These are just little 2x2s. Just use one, fold it in half, slip it under the driveline. And you take the Coviderm. These are pre-cut. It's a circle round. You can see it. It's got the slit in it to allow for it to slip around the driveline. A good little trick that again I learned myself is you take this and actually rip the backing in half. Makes it a lot easier to apply. Later on you're not trying to tear it apart while it's close to your skin. And I usually put the slit up closer to my head, slide it under there, and up and around. You can see I already exposed the bottom part of the adhesive, and then just go around, and then you can remove the other two tabs and push it down. You should be able to get all the adhesive on there nicely. On the second tab I like to overlap it a little bit, kind of pull it into a bit of a cone shape, I guess it would be. Just kind of do a little bit of an overlap there, just to keep it nice and tight around the actual driveline. And that's pretty much it. And then what I like to do also is take a piece of foam tape, and now I'm no longer sterile, now that the driveline's all covered up. I like to use a little piece of foam tape just to keep the seam of the Coviderm down against my skin so it doesn't start to peel up. And I slap that right on there. And now I'm going to put on a new anchor, because I only do that about once every 2 or 3 weeks, depending on how well they last. Sometimes you can get these things to last a really long time, but as you saw, the one that I had on there was getting pretty gnarly, so I thought this would be a good time to change it. I like to save my gauze. It's not sterile, but I use it for when I cut myself and don't stop bleeding. Full anchors are really pretty straightforward. They come with an adhesive skin prep material. Basically, they give you alcohol as an adhesive remover, but it doesn't really work very well. I just bank this stuff. Use it maybe later down the road for an injection or something like that. Yeah, this is the skin prep junk. It's basically just a little bit of glue that goes on before the actual Foley anchor. Just smear that around there and let it dry. I really recommend letting it dry. I used to slap it on there right away thinking that, oh, well, the glue will somehow adhere to the backing on the anchor and then my skin also at the same time, but I put one on once and it lasted literally less than 5 minutes and then it was falling off, so kind of sit here and let it dry. Again, I'm no longer sterile, so I'm going to be touching things with my gloves. Can't stop looking at the camera. It's really weird having it there. This is a belly button. This is where your umbilical cord comes out when you're in utero. Alright. Air that out a little bit. Make sure that's nice and dry. Okay, so the Foley anchor, after a while of having a LVAD wire coming out of your belly, you'll kind of get used to where it wants to go and where it's comfortable, kind of how it healed in initially. Mine is below. I've seen other patients where, you know, their driveline might be a lot lower and so they have to put their anchor on the side, different things like that. It's totally a case-by-case basis, but once you figure out where you like it, it makes it a lot easier just to swap these out. So I just kind of position it and then peel the backing off before I put the driveline through the anchor. Press it on there. You want to make sure that you kind of hold it on there for a second. Make sure the adhesive goes. Pull the other side off like that. Little bow tie shape. The first time Jen and I used one of these, we really didn't pull it tight enough and we just thought they were totally bunk. But what you do is you've got these two little wings and they kind of overlap. This one goes into a slit, another one, and then you just pull it tight like that. And pull it really tight, and then it kind of locks into place. And then you're good to go. Sometimes I like to tension it, either pull more driveline through it or away from it to get it so it's comfortable, so it's not tugging. You want just like a tiny bit of a courtesy loop here. So when you're moving around, it's not just pulling straight. You can see that it, as I wiggle my 6-pack around, it stays nice and loose. Okay, that's a complete dressing change for an LVAD wire. After a while you get really particular about how all this stuff works, and when you go into clinic to have it done and they do it there, they just do it really quick and not the way that you're used to, and so it's funny how you totally become an expert on all of this stuff once you get through it. Okay, all done.